Hey there, and welcome to a new episode of the Dietitian Success Podcast, the business, marketing, and entrepreneurship podcast specifically for registered dietitians. I am your host, Krista Kolajesic, and every week I show up and I talk about 3 different business topics or tackle 3 different business questions. And I always like to start with a little bit of a personal update, business update, what has been going on in the world of me and Dietitian Success Center. So personally, the weather is getting way nicer, and I don't know about you, but I know for me, and depending on where you live, I'm in Canada, as many of you know, and as such, we have pretty intense winters. And so around this time of the year, it is like mid to late April, and I just find, you just start to smell spring in the air. The weather gets a little bit nicer, and I just feel like I have I just feel different, you just feel different. You feel like you're kind of coming out of hibernation. You have like a different energy. I'm just like ready to get after it in a different way. I feel different when I wake up in the morning, and yeah, it's been feeling really good. So I am happy about that. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to just like spend more time outside. I'm going to go out for an outside run today after recording this podcast. So yeah, it's going to be great. I signed up for a 10K next month, which will be fun. The farthest I've run so far postpartum. So I am 5 months postpartum. I've run 5K. I was a big runner beforehand. So that was not just me starting from scratch postpartum. I ran a lot beforehand, and I was able to run up until, in this pregnancy, I was able to run until about 30 weeks, actually, if I remember correctly, which was actually longer than I was able to run with my first pregnancy. With my first pregnancy, I had just like more pain, more discomfort. So I stopped earlier. This one, I was just able to run for longer, which was really cool. I just sort of always assumed that second pregnancy, you'd be, everything would like be harder and happen sooner. Like I would have to give up running sooner, but that just didn't happen this time, which was pretty cool. So I was able to run quite a bit, and and now postpartum, it's been good. It's been really good. Building back up again. Like I said, my longest run so far has been 5K, and I have a 10K next month. So I got to get out and do some runs outside. And so today I am aiming for 7. We'll see. I'm aiming for 7K. Also, obviously I'm Canadian because I'm talking in Ks. But if you are listening and you are from the US, 5K is 3.1 miles, and 7K, maybe like 4 miles, I think. I don't know. So that's what's been happening personally. And also we had our first weekend away as a family this weekend. So we had our first overnight, like little vacation, staycation, although we just went to the mountains. So only about an hour away, but hour and a half away. We had our first little vacation night away from home with the 2 kids, and my parents came, and it was awesome. We did an amazing hike on the Saturday. And then just wandered around the town. So the town I'm talking about is Banff. Just wandered around the town, went to the pool on Sunday. Like it was just such an awesome weekend. Oh, and it just like reminds you of how important it is to just get away every once in a while. You just feel like, coming back, I just feel like I'm revitalized, right? I didn't even notice that I needed that, but just being away, being out of your space, being out of your routine, like you just completely disconnect. And wasn't even thinking about, any of our life commitments, because my husband and I were talking about how, when you're at home on the weekends, like it's great. We love being at home. We are homebodies, but you also always end up doing like home related jobs. I know we do, especially now that we have kids, is like all the free time we have, it feels like is taken doing things that you want to get done when you don't have the kids around. So like whatever it is, whether it's cleaning, like house stuff, it's just a whole thing. So it was a really great weekend. Great to get away. Business wise, as you've been hearing through the podcast, we are knee deep in planning for the Dietitian Success Summit. Tickets go on sale May 2nd, which we're super, super excited for. We have quite a bit more, actually. I didn't check this morning. Double the number of people on the wait list than we have tickets for. We are really excited about it. We're excited that you all are excited about it too. I think there's just something so different about in-person events nowadays. I think there was sort of this feeling that like in a post-COVID era, everyone would want to do things online and like nobody would want to meet in person for conferences or summits or whatever anymore. And I just think the opposite has become true, where everyone is actually craving more in-person connection because we realize how lonely it can be trying to build a business on your own. And so a virtual business, especially if you don't have a team, right? So there's this desire to just want to get together with other people and talk and connect and build relationships and build friendships too. I was able to meet with one of my really good business friends on Friday for dinner. And, you're just reminded how important it is to have people who are friends who are doing similar things to you and you can just talk to about the challenges and about the great things and the hard things. And it's just so, so important. I also think to myself too, as I'm thinking about the importance of this summit and in-person connection, that it's so interesting because if I think about though sometimes it can feel easier to say, well, I'll just join that conference virtually, or I'll just join that summit virtually. We don't have a virtual option for this event, by the way, but I have no recollection of any of the virtual summits or virtual conferences that I've attended since becoming a dietitian. I don't know about you, but I know I've attended some, but I don't remember any of them. And oftentimes what I find, because I'll sign up for a lot of business related summits, and because you're still in your space at your desk, you still have your emails in front of you. I often find that I just don't prioritize it in the way that I should be prioritizing it. And so I'll sign up for these summits and I'll have the best of intentions of being present and really learning and diving in. And then I get distracted, especially if it's more than one day. I get distracted and I'll start checking my emails and start doing other things and multitasking, right? Listening to speakers while I'm doing other things. And consequently, I just don't get anything out of it. And especially the relationships, which I think is the biggest part that you get out of it. So yeah, I just don't even remember anything virtually that I've done. Whereas I have such fond memories and such vivid memories of in-person events that I've been to, all of the in-person events that I've been to. The most recent one was last year. I went to Alex Hormozy's scaling workshop. He runs them in Las Vegas I don't know if he still does them every month, but it's him and his team. And you actually go to their headquarters in Las Vegas. And it was incredible. It was 2 full, very immersive days of just back-to-back learning sessions. I don't even think I checked my email one single time. I was just in it. And consequently, it was one of the most impactful and powerful things I could have ever done for my business because I was just in it. I was immersed. I was learning. I was doing. I was thinking differently about my business. I was taking a step back and thinking about things big picture, which is really hard to do in the day-to-day, which we'll talk about a little bit today. Anyways, all that to say, and have made some amazing friends who we voice note on Instagram all the time, other business owners who are like me, who we're just talking back and forth on Instagram via voice note constantly. And it's amazing. Those connections have been so great. I've learned so much from those people, and I love building those types of relationships. So anyways, all that to say, yeah, I would love to see you in person. I think that in-person summits and conferences just hit so different. And we're really excited to be able to offer that and to be able to do that ourselves too. We want to connect with all of you as well. So, all right. So that's a little update for me. Okay. So what are we going to talk about in today's podcast? Ooh, I'm excited about these topics. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is a really, really important topic that I have had a few conversations about lately with dietitians who are in the entrepreneurship, the DSC entrepreneurship membership. And it is the topic around the fear of posting online. Typically, we're talking about social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok. The fear of posting online and having somebody troll you or attack you or create a reaction video about you or cancel you, just that fear, because we're living in a world where social media, it really does feel like the algorithm rewards very divisive style content. And so that can feel really paralyzing. That fear, whether it's warranted or not, rather whether, regardless of the type of content that you're creating or, what you're talking about, that fear can just be there. And it is very real. And so we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about what to do if you're feeling that fear. And I'm going to talk about how I've been managing this and how I've been navigating this, because I think that fear exists for most people, not everyone, but a lot of people who are creating content online. So we'll talk about that. I've had a few questions about the difference between the DSC Entrepreneurship membership and the Summit. If you purchase the Summit Entrepreneurship Pass, like what's the difference between the two, or which one should I choose? So I'll just talk through that briefly. And then the third question rather, is something that came up during one of our DSC Entrepreneurship office hours, which was the question of Substack versus blogging on your own website. And like, what's the difference? What should we do? How should we be thinking about this in 2026? So we will also talk about that. All right, so let's dive into this first topic. Okay, which is the very real fear that exists when it comes to putting yourself out there online or talking about really anything on Instagram or TikTok. And I think, if you are somebody who is in the online space, if you are someone who consumes content online, you've probably noticed and found that you see a lot of videos or pieces of content where people are like calling out other people, or they are doing a reaction to other people. And, I'm not going to comment on whether that's like warranted or not, because, hey, like there's a lot of content out there, and there's some content that is just like, as we all know, there's a lot of like incorrect information out there, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to comment on that. But what I am going to say is that, seeing that, and I know this is true for me, like seeing all of that content makes me feel a certain level of fear about just like putting myself out there online, and the fear of somebody, saying something negative about me, or having a problem with what I'm saying, or, calling me out or whatever. Like that is even something I fear, even though I'm really talking about business and entrepreneurship. It doesn't really matter. Like I still have that fear. And I know a lot of you have that fear in talking about nutrition and health, because I think especially in nutrition and health, things get really heated, and things feel really divided, and things feel really polarized online, in the online space right now. And especially I think too, because a few years ago, I don't even remember when it was, but this has happened a couple times where, and the example I can think of that's top of mind is the Washington Post article that came out a couple years ago that was like highlighting a few specific dietitians about disclosure and about their sponsorships and all this stuff. And again, it just sort of like brings about this like overall generalized feeling of like, I don't know if I feel like I'm safe in the online space or like posting online. It just feels it can feel kind of scary. This may not even apply to you. If you're sitting there and you're being like, I actually don't really feel that way. That's also okay. Like you may just have the type of personality where you just don't feel that fear. And that's great. I love that for you. I think a lot of us who are maybe less, for me, like I am not a, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not a combative person. I'm not a, what is the word? You're probably sitting there and you're like, I know what the word is, Krista. I can't think of it. Okay. Anyways, I'm not the type of person who has really strong opinions about things. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but I'm not the type of person that's like really opinionated and like feels super confident in my opinions all the time. Like that's just not really my personality type. I'm pretty like, I'm kind of like, I often see both sides in a scenario, and I'm not combative. I'm not the type of person that likes to have confrontational conversations, although that has gotten better over time. And I think I've improved my skill in that over time of having like direct, honest conversations. But in this online space, I think that that's something that yeah, I certainly feel, and a lot of us feel. So what do we do? Like, how do we navigate through this? Because I think this fear can be pretty paralyzing, especially if you are new to the nutrition space or you are new to posting online. I think it makes us become a little bit like hypervigilant in terms of the level of perfectionism around our content. We sort of think about, and this is how it shows up for me, like I think about, I have to make sure that every piece of content I put out there feels like it's absolutely perfect and feels like it's not going to upset anyone and feels like it's whatever that looks like. And so that perfectionism, like I said, can be pretty paralyzing, and it can make it so that you don't actually do anything. It can keep you incredibly stuck. So I want to offer up a framework or a strategy for how to approach this if you do feel this way, or if this fear, this block is coming up for you. Because this is something that I have had to actively work through. So first of all, the first step to this is really recognizing that this fear is valid and it's important. It's your brain trying to protect itself. It's your brain trying to protect you. And it may actually not go away. It may just dim as your confidence grows, as you get more practice, as you post more, and you realize, you know what, hey, this is okay. Or if somebody decides to comment something on your post, oh, I can handle that. That's okay. Like, I can handle it. A lot of this stuff starts to dim the more you actually press up against these fears, the more you actually do these things and realize that you can get through them, and you can move through it, and you can move past it, and you can get through it, and you can handle it. But that's the first piece, is recognizing that fear is valid and it's important and really why it's there. And then number 2 for me, the second piece is, this is one of my favorite mantras in business, is to feel the fear, but do it anyways. So to recognize that, like, I have fear around this, but ultimately my purpose in life, my goals in life, my mission in life, my passions really do align with wanting to share about business and entrepreneurship for dietitians, and wanting more dietitians to have support and have help. The type of support and help that I felt like I didn't have when I was starting my business. And this is really a core value of mine. And this is what feels like part of my purpose, something that I'm so passionate about and I feel so strongly about. And so I don't want to let my fear of like what could happen make it so that I just don't do it. And I often think to myself, what would 85-year-old Krista think about this situation? Like, when I'm looking back on my life, when I am older, when I look back on my life, what am I going to think about this? Am I going to say to myself, oh, Krista, I'm just so glad that you didn't do that because, you were I'm glad you just protected yourself and you stayed really, really safe. Right? Like, I'm not going to say that. I would say to myself, like, if I didn't end up doing it, if I didn't end up putting myself out there and sharing my message and sharing my thoughts and my feelings and my opinions, I would look back on that. I know I would. And I would be like, I wish you would have done that. Yeah, and I think sometimes like that zooming out perspective of putting yourself into your shoes in the future and looking back on your life, it helps to give you perspective of like the bigger picture. And what really matters when it comes to how you're living your life and how you're living your purpose. So yeah, that feeling the fear, but doing it anyways, recognizing that the fear's there, but ultimately this aligns with my purpose and I just don't want to have any regrets. That's something that's really been super helpful for me. Another thing that I will attribute to my therapist, because it's such an amazing concept or message, is like, all you can do is control how you show up. You can never control the outcome of that or what happens after, right? You have no control over what other people say or do or how they respond, or, you just don't. Like, you do not have control over that. All you can do is show up in the way that feels the best for you and feels authentic to you and feels right for you. And everything after that is just completely out of your hands. And so if you feel like you're showing up with alignment, with purpose, you're staying true to your values, you're staying authentic to you, then that's also really helpful for me too. Because then, if somebody has a thought about that or comment about that or whatever, I can say to myself, well, you know what? Like, this was just me. Like, I wouldn't have shown up any differently. This is just my thoughts about it. This is how I feel about it. And I welcome other people's opinions, and I love to be I love to have my mind changed. Like, I'm so happy to have other people bring in other perspectives in a constructive way. But yeah, I mean, all that's within my control is how I show up. And then the third piece too is like, which I think has been really helpful for me too, is like, I always have a plan in place if that were to ever happen. Like if that were to happen, if somebody were to respond negatively to something I put out there or what I say or whatever, like I have a safe space to be able to go to be able to handle that. So for me, like that's my family, my husband, like he's always there if I would ever need to talk about anything, and my therapist too. Like I know she knows that this is a thing that I work on actively, and so I can go to her if anything were to come up and we can talk through it, and I know I'll feel better afterwards. So I have a plan of action. And so, and I think too, like for me, I'm even noticing. And so the reason why this is prevalent for me or why this is top of mind for me is because I took quite a long break from talking about entrepreneurship online. I've kind of always had the podcast, but I've also taken breaks from the podcast just for like, pregnancy, postpartum, mat leave, etc. And I've taken a lot of breaks from posting on Instagram about entrepreneurship and anywhere else, like Facebook groups, Instagram, whatever. And again, for like a multitude of reasons. But now in sort of 2026 and beyond, like we're really focusing on entrepreneurship for Dietitian Success Center. And it's been a huge, piece of the work that we're doing this year and moving forward. And so it's becoming so important for me to get active, get visible, double down, do more content, create more, just like get out there more. And so that's why all of these like feelings have started coming up for me, even though these were things that I actually feel like I had kind of navigated through a few years ago and I felt pretty good about. And now suddenly I find when you take a break from something and you don't do it for a while and then you come back to it, a lot of times these thoughts and feelings can resurface and you almost have to readdress them, rework through them. And the landscape changes too, right? Like especially in and this was a conversation I had a couple weeks ago, like especially in the US, right? Like there with the administration changes and just like all of the very polarized opinions about nutrition and health online, it can become and feel really challenging for dietitians in this space. And so, as time changes, you may have different feelings about these things too that you need to work through. But if I haven't said it before, I'll say it again. Having a therapist is incredibly helpful as an entrepreneur because there's a lot of thoughts and feelings that come up that can actually really keep you stuck and prevent you from growing in your business. And so doing that like mental health work is one of the best, I think, investments and one of the best returns on your investment of time and money. Okay, that was a long one. Okay, so that was number one. Number two. Summit versus entrepreneurship membership of DSC. What's the difference between the two? Which one should I join? I'm stuck and I don't really understand. Okay, totally fair. So let me just give you a little level set if you are new to this podcast. So Dietitian Success Center is a membership site for registered dietitians. We have 3 tiers of membership. We have the learner, the practitioner, and then we have the entrepreneur. And so I'll just speak to the entrepreneur because assuming if you're listening to this, that would be the one that's most relevant for you. So the entrepreneurship tier of the membership includes everything from the practitioner tier. So it includes client handouts, resources, CEU, quarterly workshops, an amazing, vibrant community of dietitians, all the resources and tools that you really need to work with patients and clients one-on-one. But then the entrepreneurship tier is a level up, and that gives you everything within practitioner, but then it also gives you access to business and entrepreneurship materials, courses, coaching, and community. And so when you join the entrepreneurship tier, you get a one-on-one business coaching call with me. And before that call, we'll do a little bit of like back work on your business just to see like, what do I see from your current online presence and what are some of the recommendations I would give you to like change or adjust things that you already have set up. So I'll do like a little SEO audit. I will do all of these things just to make sure that you really have your marketing dialed in. And then we have a one-on-one coaching call. If you haven't started your business yet, that's also okay. That's perfect time to join as well. So you get a one-on-one coaching call with me, and then you get access to our on-demand business coaching feature, which is where you can submit up to 2 business questions to our team every week. And so you submit them via audio or video message, and then we respond back within 48 hours via audio or video. And then you also get access to office hours every 2 weeks, where we have a different expert talking about a different topic, and you can come and ask questions. So I did business strategy last week, and then in 2 weeks, I'm doing marketing. We also have topics coming up on SEO for beginners, advanced SEO, Instagram strategy. We have a lawyer coming in to do a legal Q&A. We have an accountant coming in to do a bookkeeping Q&A. So all those topics that you need to know when it comes to entrepreneurship. So that's the entrepreneurship membership of DSC. Pricing can all be found on just dietitiansuccesscenter.com. Just go to the pricing tab in the navigation menu on the top right corner, and you will see all the pricing tiers. So then the summit, with the summit, that is our in-person event that we're running in Toronto this September 28th to 30th. And there's 2 levels of tickets. There's the general pass, which is for all dietitians, no matter your area of practice or whether you're, clinical, community, public health, whatever, all dietitians. And then we have the upgraded entrepreneurship pass, which is an extra full day where we are going to talk about marketing, but then we're also going to actively do a business planning session. So the 2 things are actually really intended to be super complementary to each other. The entrepreneurship membership is really, if you think about it, it's really that like day-to-day, week-to-week structured support. You're getting help as you need it, as you're going through the process, as you're actually working in your business and working on your business. You get access for the entire year. So you get a full year of support with your business, and it really is intended to help you with that day-to-day. Now, what's the difference between that and the summit? Well, the summit is really going to be that dedicated time and space for you to think about your business for the next year. So it is like a very active business planning session, because that can be really hard to do. And that's something that you absolutely need to do every single year in your business, is have a business planning session where you think about the next year. It's perfect timing to do it in September as well, because then you can think about your next 12 months, or you could even think about like the year of 2027. What do you want that to look like? And so just thinking bigger picture, higher level, what is your financial goal and how are you going to get there? We actually break that down. What's the financial goal? What's the offer that you need to sell to get there? What are going to be the marketing strategies? And how is this actually going to happen and come to life? So it's really that like point in time where you stop and you dedicate the time and space to be able to plan out your business. So the 2 are incredibly complementary, and they are also different. Now, if you have any questions about which one might be right for you based on where you are at right now, I want you to just shoot me a DM at kristaco.rd on Instagram, and you and I can chat back and forth about it. Like, you just send me a question, I'll probably send you a voice note back and just give you my honest take on what would be the best approach for you. But honestly, like, I think it's a really great thing to have both. Obviously, that's my opinion, because we've created it intentionally that way. But yeah, they're 2 very, very complementary offers. But if you can only do one or the other, that's also okay. And we completely understand that if you're not in the place to be able to do both. So just shoot me a message on Instagram, and I can help you decide which one is the best fit for you, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna have a sip of water. Whew. I feel like I've really just been yeah, this one's turning into a lengthy one, I think. I don't actually know what time I'm at right now. But that's why I love the podcast, because it's so fluid in terms of just being able to be what it needs to be for that week, right? We have these 3 topics, and sometimes they are longer, sometimes they are not as long. So anyways, today feels like a little bit of a longer form episode. Okay, so let's talk about the next topic is Substack versus blogging. Okay, so let's define both if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Substack or even when I say blogging. Okay, So what exactly is Substack? So Substack is essentially a platform that lets anyone publish a newsletter and a blog in one place. So you sign up, you write your content, and it gets sent directly to your subscribers' inboxes, much like a newsletter. But then it also lives publicly on your own Substack page, like a blog, so people can read it without subscribing to. Now, Substack became really popular during the pandemic as a way for writers, for journalists, for creators to build more direct relationships with their audiences outside of social media algorithms. So I know there's certainly a lot of us have had a lot of feelings around social media and like, ugh, do I even want to be there? Now, the cool thing about Substack is that your subscribers are on your list. So when you send out an email to your Substack subscribers, it goes to their inbox. It's not like social media where like you post something on Instagram and you don't know who it's going to reach. You are competing for the attention of everybody else. Now, the other cool thing about Substack is it has built-in monetization where you can offer free content to everyone, but then you can also charge a monthly or an annual subscription for like more premium content. And so you can put some of your content behind a paywall. So for some dietitians, it's come up as an interesting alternative to traditional blogging because it can be easier to set up. So if you don't have a website or you don't feel like you're tech savvy, so you don't have a blog set up, like it's an easy way to be able to start sharing your message and start building subscribers without actually having to go through that whole process of building out a website. And then the other cool thing about Substack too is that there is a built-in audience discovery element, meaning that people can find you through the Substack ecosystem. So it's almost like, it's kind of like Etsy where, with Etsy, when you put your product onto Etsy, it's a marketplace, right? People are coming to Etsy looking for products like yours. And so you get exposure because you live under the Etsy umbrella. It's similar with Substack. You get exposure to other Substack users and potential subscribers because you are within their ecosystem. So what about blogging? Well, blogging in the way that we talk about it is like having your own website that you own. So you have your own domain that you own, you've built a website, you have a tab on your website that is a dedicated blog, and you write blog posts on your blog. Blogging has changed quite a bit over the years, and it's not the same as it was in 2011 when, we would go to people's blogs to actually like read their blog posts and read their thoughts and opinions about things. Blogs aren't really used in that way so much anymore, especially now with AI. Blogs are more so used in order to help you show up, in order to help your website rank in Google search and in AI search. So when you create blog posts and when you write about different topics related to your niche, you are basically telling Google and telling the AI tools that like you are a website that is a reputable source for this specific topic and topics like this. And so therefore it should show more people that are searching for that type of content your website. So, that's the difference really, is that like your blog is just, it lives on your website. It is your own thing, your own domain. Whereas Substack is, if you have a Substack, it's really a part of the Substack ecosystem. It lives under the Substack umbrella. So what are some of the differences between the two? Well, a blog on your own website is something that you own fully, right? It lives on your domain. It builds your site's authority on Google. Whereas Substack, obviously, you are building on someone else's platform. So if Substack decides to change its model, change its algorithm, your audience, your content could be at risk there. That is kind of one of the differences between the two. From an SEO perspective, now this one's kind of interesting, but blog posts on your own site directly contribute to your domain's authority and your Google ranking. So every asset or every blog post that you post on your website is an asset that will help to build up your SEO over time. So now with Substack can be indexed by Google, but the SEO benefits go back to Substack's domain, not your domain. So for building your own personal discoverability, it's not quite the same there, right? Like every time you post something on Substack and you're bringing people to that piece of content. Like you are bringing people to your Substack. You're not bringing them to your own personal website domain. I think the discoverability piece of Substack is really appealing. Like I love the idea that people can find you. I think that can be really cool. And whereas a blog obviously relies on you driving traffic to the blog, right? By creating blog posts, bringing people to your blog, to your website, and then directing them to your email list by getting them to opt in to some sort of a freebie or a lead magnet. So those are different. When it comes to monetization, I don't really know, honestly, I don't really know when it comes to Substack because I don't use Substack. So I don't know how successful it can be for getting people to actually upgrade or opt in to your paid subscription. So I don't know really how the monetization works there. Now, of course, you could use it as a way to be able to direct people to like some sort of a lead magnet thing. I'm assuming you can use Substack for that. A lead magnet, which then leads them to your paid product. So that could be another way to think about monetization. Whereas blogging monetization, really the goal there becomes you bring people to the blog, you direct them to your lead magnet. Your lead magnet then sends them a email nurture sequence to your paid product or paid service. That's really the monetization pathway there. Your blog helps people, if somebody is searching in ChatGPT or on Google for like a dietitian who specializes in blank, something super niche perhaps, your blog helps to ensure that your website is shown to those people and then they can book an appointment with you. So it's, there's different ways that you can monetize on both. So ultimately, I don't think there's a right answer here or a wrong answer here. I think that if your goal is really about building a long-term content asset that drives people to you, and if you're interested in building, your own thing that is your own ownership, and if you already have your own website, then a blog is probably going to be the better option for you. If you don't have that, if you don't have a website, if you feel like you're not tech savvy at all, but you just want to start like putting content out there and you just have a lot to say and you want to have a newsletter, you really like written content and that's like a good format for you, then Substack could be worth figuring out or considering. But I still think that there's huge value in having your own website, period, honestly, regardless of whether you have a Substack or not. So yeah, there's different approaches here for sure. Absolutely different approaches. I don't think, like I said, I don't think either one is wrong or right, just different and kind of depends on your goals. And honestly, a lot of dietitians too, like they have a website anyways, where that links to their EMR that, says more about them as a practitioner. Like that's the difference too, is like if somebody Googles you and wants to go to your website, like they want to know about you as a practitioner. They want to hear more about you and what you do and your approach and your philosophy and all that stuff. That's not really conducive to something like Substack. Yeah, really interesting. And I'll kind of keep my eye on this. And I'm also really interested if you've had success with Substack, shoot me a DM. I'd really love to hear. Yeah, I'd really love to hear about it. Just send me a DM at kristaco.rd because I don't really I know a few dietitians who use Substack, but not a whole lot. So I don't know necessarily how successful it's been for people, but I would love to hear about success stories for sure. Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to say on that, but I don't think so. I hope that you enjoyed that episode. If you haven't already, make sure and join the waitlist for the summit. The link is in the description of this episode. All right. With that, I hope you have an awesome week and I will see you in the next episode.